Well, boys, it's Sunday. Feels like football, smells like football, but all we've got is yard work and regret. Hang tight, four-play season's almost over. Welcome to the waiver wire edition of the Boyz Dynasty League, where desperation meets delusion and $200 fab gets spent like it's Monopoly money at a fantasy garage sale. Some managers struck gold, others struck out, and a few brave souls didn't strike anything because they missed the waiver wire entirely, like it was a group text they swear they didn't see. We saw fab blown faster than a freshman on spring break, sleeper picks that already hit snooze, and four managers who stared down the waiver wire and said, "Nah, I'm good." Let's break it down, shame a few people, and pretend this isn't already spiraling into fantasy chaos by week one. Gunslinging parrots spent their fab like a drunk pirate at a strip club, loud, reckless, and now left with nothing but regrets and a pirate screaming, "Wasted it," every Sunday. Brashard Smith, running back, allegedly, your $110 mistake. For this one, you're getting a rating of 1.5 out of 5 pulled hammies. Let me tell you about Smith, the running back you just spent $110 on like he was Christian McCaffrey's long-lost cousin. Spoiler alert, he's not. He's more like the third-string cousin who shows up to the family barbecue and immediately drops the potato salad. Spending $110 on Smith is like buying a Rolex from a guy named Sketchy Mike behind a Waffle House. You want to believe, but deep down, you know you just bought yourself a very shiny piece of regret. Gnar Helm, tight end, $40 paperweight. For this one, you're getting a rating of 1 out of 5. Who? Helm, you know. The tight end you just dropped $40 on like you uncovered a hidden gem. Plot twist, it's just a rock. Let's be honest, spending $40 on Helm is like buying a ticket to Coachella just to watch the guy who parks the cars. Sure, he's technically part of the show, but he ain't putting up points unless you're in a tight ends who exist league. $40 could have gone a long way, or bought you some Taco Bell. At least Taco Bell gives you something explosive. Phil Mafah, running back, $0, baller on a budget. For this one, we're giving you a rating at 4 out of 5 coupon clippers. I know you're broke already, but finally some self-respect and control. You picked up Phil Mafah for $0, and there's nothing to say here except you're fully prepared for either a breakout or a bench nap. Yep. Blew their fab like a teenage daughter with daddy's credit card and now stuck watching the waiver wire like it owes them child support. Kyle Manungai, the running back from Rutgers, $33 mid-pack Mirage. For this one, you get a rating of 2.5 out of 5 Rutgers Legends. Manungai, the $33 fab pickup that screams, "I panicked and clicked." Look, we respect the hustle. You saw a box score, blacked out, and before you knew it, Manungai was on your roster like a surprise rash after spring break. Let's be real. $33 for a Rutgers running back is like overpaying for gas station sushi. Technically food, technically football, but you're going to feel the regret real fast. Arian Smith, wide receiver, $28 speed trap. For this one, you're getting a rating of 2 out of 5 Olympic tryouts. So you spent $28 on Smith, huh? Bold strategy, Con. Let's see if it pays off. Spoiler alert, it won't. Smith is fast, but track speed doesn't score fantasy points. This man runs cardio routes like it's his side hustle. Blazing down the field, waving at cornerbacks, and then targeted twice, 0 catches, good night. Spending $28 on Smith is like buying a Ferrari with no engine. It looks like a good idea until you realize it's just sitting there making noise. Joe Flacco, quarterback, $18 for fossil cleats. For this one, you get a rating of 1 out of 5 elite flashbacks, dropping $18 on Flacco. Bold move, investing in a quarterback who's been in the league since Netflix mailed DVDs. At this point, Flacco's fantasy value is like Blockbuster's stock. Nostalgic, but completely worthless. Crop tops and power bottoms spend a quarter of their fab like it expires next Tuesday. Now stuck begging for scraps while their roster looks like a Dollar Tree clearance bin in week 2. Riley Leonard, quarterback, $27 for a glorified handoff machine. For this one, we're giving you a rating of 1.5 out of 5. Why did I do this? $27 on Leonard, and I just want to know, was this a dare, a prank, or were you trying to impress someone who's never watched football? Leonard is what happens when you order a dual-threat quarterback off of Temu. He can run, might throw, but most of the time he's out there like a confused tour guide pointing defenders towards the end zone. Taj Brooks, running back, $27 for a plotter with a dream. For this one, you're getting a rating of 2 out of 5 between the tackles disappointments. $27 on Brooks, huh? Congratulations. You just bought the human equivalent of a 4-yard carry and a cloud of meh. Yes, he gets touches. Yes, he's built like a bowling ball. But he's also running behind an O-line that blocks like they're on roller skates. And his highlight reel looks like someone dragging a couch uphill in slow motion. Fucking banana head. Blew 25% of their fab like potassium was going extinct. Now sitting on one waiver win and a roster that's already slipping. Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt. $18 for a one-hit blunder. For this one, big guy, you're getting a rating of 1.75 out of 5. Who was that again? So you dropped $18 on Krosky Merritt, and I gotta ask, did you bid while sleepwalking? Or did you see a hyphenated name and assume it came with fantasy points? Look, he had a touchdown. Great. So did the punter ones. But banking on Krosky Merritt is like buying stock in a company that trended on Twitter for 14 minutes and then disappeared. $18 on Krosky Merritt is like tipping 40% on a meal that gave you poisoning. Sure, you can, but why would you? Savion Williams, wide receiver, $11 for a whole lot of almost. For this one, you're getting a rating of 2 out of 5, close but no catches. $11 on Williams, which is cute, like trying to fix a broken engine with duct tape in a dream. He looks the part, tall, athletic, flashes of potential, but watching him in fantasy is like watching a trailer for a movie that never gets released. He's basically the wide receiver version of an unsaved Word doc. All potential, no finish. Isaiah Bond, wide receiver, $12 for a flash without the fire. For this one, rating 2 out of 5, speed kills, your lineup. $12 on Bond, which is basically paying for the idea of speed instead of actual production. He's got wheels, sure, but so does a shopping cart, and at least that can carry something. Bond looks explosive until you realize most of his highlights are cardio sprints with a side of, ooh, you almost had it. Someone cue the State Farm commercial for me. He's the kind of guy who gets open deep, raises your hopes, and then either gets overthrown, underthrown, or forgotten entirely by the quarterback, like a ghost running wind sprints. Xavier Restrepo, wide receiver, $11 for a slot machine with no jackpot. Rating 2.25 out of 5 PPR pipe dreams. $11 on Xavier, the human security blanket. And by that, I mean he's the guy quarterbacks throw to when all other options have completely evaporated. And even then, it's for a 4-yard gain on 3rd and 12. He is the classic looks busy player. He runs routes like a guy late to class, catches everything underneath, and gives you 7 catches for 39 yards and no touchdowns like he's trying to be mid. For $11, you didn't buy a game changer. You bought a fantasy Band-Aid. One that falls off in the second half and leaves you wondering why you ever opened your wallet in the first place. Team Sam Doroff. Proof that not only can you draft poorly, but you can also name your team like it's a law firm that specializes in losing. Shimre Dike. Wide receiver, $13 for a Mirage and shoulder pads. For this one, you're getting a rating of 1.5 out of 5. Dart throws in the dark. $13 on DK, which is wild because no one's even sure how to pronounce his name, let alone trust him in a starting lineup. DK is that classic preseason Mirage. A big play here, a random deep ball, and suddenly someone, you, is throwing fab like he's the second coming of Justin Jefferson. Spoiler, he's not even the second coming of Nelson Aguilar. You didn't just overpay, you impulse bought the fantasy equivalent of a gas station lottery ticket. There's hope, sure, but deep down, you know it's just $13 you'll never get back. Next time, buy the sandwich. At least that has upside. Jimmy Horn Jr., wide receiver, $0. Pickup, priceless comedy. For this one, you're getting a rating of 2.5 out of 5. Hey, why not? Jimmy Horn Jr. for $0, and honestly, that's the kind of reckless optimism that makes fantasy football beautiful and borderline unhinged. Horn is fast, like blink, and he's already dropped the pass fast. He's the kind of player who could house a slant or forget which route he's running entirely. You didn't spend money, but you did spend emotional capital, and that might be worse. Still, $0 for a guy who might score a long TD is the fantasy equivalent of grabbing Taco Bell at 2 a.m. You know it's risky, but there's a chance it hits just right. Oronde Gadsden, tight end, wide receiver, $0 fab, infinite confusion. For this one, you're getting a rating of 2.75 out of 5, positionless hope. Gadsden the second for $0, and honestly, that might be the smartest dumb move of the week. Is he a wide receiver, a tight end, a hybrid mismatched weapon? Nobody knows, not even his own coach. Gadsden is like a Costco sample of fantasy production. Just enough to get your hopes up, but not enough to build a meal or starting lineup around it. He looks like a breakout, he feels like a breakout, but when the dust settles, you're looking at a Costco hot dog. San Diego Cougars, built like a calendar model from the waist down, but at quarterback, it's all dad bod and bad decisions. Ty Felton, wide receiver, $3 for a ghost with track shoes. For this one, you're getting a rating of 1.5 out of 5. Speed doesn't equal points. $3 on Felton, which is basically the fantasy version of buying a scratch off with a glittery logo. Flashy, fun, and ends in disappointment. Felton's fast, no doubt. Like, did someone hit the fast forward fast? But the problem, he runs deep routes like a dude trying to get away from fantasy relevance. He's either 60-yard glory or straight up cardio. But hey, you only spent $3, and that's less than a gas station burrito, and Felton's just as likely to make you regret it by Sunday afternoon. Cam Miller, quarterback, $4 for a glorified clipboard holder. For this one, you're getting a rating of 1.75 out of 5. Trust me, bro. Picks. $4 on Miller, and honestly, that's $3.75 more than his own team was willing to invest in him mid-drive. This man plays quarterback the way your uncle used to in high school, with confidence, questionable accuracy, and a strong belief in miracles. He's the guy you pick up when you're out of options, out of hope, and maybe out of your mind. Starting Cam Miller feels like asking a barista to land a plane. Enthusiastic? Sure. Qualified? Absolutely not. New York Stock Exchange, investing heavily in L's and proudly leading the league in fantasy recessions since draft day. Nick Nash, quarterback, wide receiver, whatever. $20 for positionless panic play. For this one, you're getting a rating of 1.5 out of 5 Mystery Box Mayhem. Dropping $20 on Nash and a guy who plays wide receiver like he still thinks he's a quarterback and plays quarterback like he should be a wide receiver. Basically, you bought a football player in existential crisis. Nash is the kind of pickup that looks spicy in theory. Ooh, versatility. But in practice, he's the fantasy equivalent of ordering a sampler platter and realizing you hate all 5 items. You wanted upside, you got confusion. Arlen Coyotes, more bark than bite. Drafted like they were chasing roadrunners, but now just standing in the dust after doing absolutely nothing on the waiver wire. Even Wile E. Coyote tried harder. Amari Demercado, running back. $0 ad, still overpaid. For this one, you get a rating of 0.5 out of 5. Free agent, more like free burden. Demercado for $0 and somehow still managed to get ripped off. This man is the human equivalent of an empty Gatorade bottle. Once full of promise and now just taking up space on your bench. Demercado's fantasy value peaked the moment you hit add and has been in witness protection ever since. This wasn't a sneaky sleeper. This was sad. Just a waiver wire impulse grab. You know it. Your league knows it. Even your team logo sighed when you added him. Next time, save yourself the click, or at least pick up someone who shows up in the box score without needing a microscope. And then there were 4 brave souls who treated the waiver wire like a do not disturb sign and collectively ghosted their rosters like it was a bad Tinder match. You all missed the waiver wire like it was a group project and nobody showed up. Congrats on letting free agents live rent-free in your opponent's lineup. Barbecue Sanchez, cooking up L's every Sunday. Smoking brisket, burning rosters, and somehow always forgetting to set his lineup before kickoff. Go Bills deep. Went deep all right, deep into denial, with 0 waiver ads and a strategy clearly sponsored by Autodraft and blind faith. Full send. Took 8 hours to auto-draft a masterpiece of mediocrity, made 0 waiver ads, and is now full sending it straight into fantasy basement. Anyone want to remind this team the season is longer than round 2 of the draft? Healthy fun bags. No waiver ads, no loser penalty completed, and absolutely no evidence of a giant dick. Just vibes, excuses, and a full season membership to the Shame Hall of Fame. Today, we salute you, gunslinging parrots. The 40-year-old virgin lives on with you in your fab spend. I'll see you all in the next episode. For now, and as always, signing off. Fuck you, Clifford. That's how it's done.